Good afternoon. We will start the webinar in 10 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon. We will start the webinar in 5 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon. Let us start this webinar with a prayer and the singing of the Philippine National Anthem. Let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God. Lord God, we thank you that you promise to be with us always. Thank you that your presence is with us right now. Today we give you our hearts, our minds, and our lives. Come speak your words of life into our beings. We pray that you would deepen our comprehension, broaden our thinking, and transform our understanding of what we are about to discuss as we strive to create a brighter future for our country. Thank you for your continuous protection during these difficult times and for keeping us together, though physically apart. Amen. And let us now rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiging elas ng sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng mahiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nanatak tutok sa simoy at sa langit mawagaw, ay hinatang tulakaw, sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan, ang may di magtitingin, lumang ang araw ng walang pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling ko. Ang higaya ng pagkay mga akin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good afternoon to the officers and members of the Management Association of the Philippines. Thank you for joining this webinar, which is co-sponsored by ASIAP Philippines. I am Vivian Arnobit of Meralco, but for today, I'm wearing my ASIAP hat. That's the Association of the Electricity Supply Industry of East Asia and the Western Pacific. That's quite a mouthful. And I hope that at the end of the seminar or of the webinar, all of you will know us a little better. To get things started, Please welcome Mr. Ernesto B. Pantanco, MAP Committee on Energy Chairperson, for his welcome message.
Mr. Rogelio Babes Singson, Secretary General of AESIEAP, Honorable Undersecretary Emmanuel Juanesa of the DOE, Attorney Melvin Matibag, Transco President, Mr. Anthony Almeida, President of NGCP, Division Chief Mark Louis Olap of the DOE, Mr. Raymond Ravelo, Chief Sustainability Officer of Meralco, officers and members of AESIEAP, fellow participants in the power industry, members of the Management Association of the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is an honor for the Management Association of the Philippines to co-host this webinar together with the ASEAN Association of the Electricity Supply Industry of East Asia and the Western Pacific, AESIEAP, whose objective is to foster collaboration and partnership among electricity supply industry players in the region. This is highlighted through its vision of energized countries, empowered communities. The objective of AESIEAP is congruent with this year's MAP's theme of the Great Reset, leading for the common good, and the MAP Energy Committee's learning sessions to update members of MAP on the recent market developments and policy frameworks affecting the production, transmission, distribution, and end-use utilization of energy in our economy, and how this can lead us towards a low-carbon energy transition. As you are aware, the energy sector plays a significant role in driving economic growth and promoting business development and expansion. Through this webinar, we have a great opportunity to be informed of significant developments and learnings that will serve as a catalyst in the growth of the Philippine economy. We will also learn about the forthcoming regional conference in the power industry, or CEPSI 2021, to be hosted by the Philippines for AESIEAP as a venue for sharing of best practices, solutions, and for collaboration and synergies among industry players and business leaders to drive growth in the power industry. On behalf of MAP and its members, we're looking forward to a future webinar and discussion this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pantanco. Indeed, MAP's theme of the Great Reset, leading for the common good, is aligned to energized countries, empowered communities. We are excited to introduce ASIAP to MAP, but before this, just a few reminders. This is a 1.5-hour webinar, and for documentation purposes, we will be recording the session. As participants, for an orderly conduct of the webinar, please turn off your cameras and mute your microphones. We encourage everyone to ask questions during the Q&A portion after our speakers have delivered their talk. So you don't forget your questions. You can use the chat box and post these questions at any time, and our speakers will answer your questions before the end of the program. We can now go to the main agenda for this afternoon. To introduce ASIAP and to tell us about the Philippine hosting of the biggest energy conference in the region is MAP Governor and also Secretary General of ASIAP, Secretary Rogelio L. Singson.
Thank you very much, Vivian, and good afternoon to MAP Energy Committee Chairperson and my good friend Ernie Pantanco, and of course for co-hosting this event. Good afternoon, fellow MAP members and guests, including my co-presenters, Undersecretary of the Department of Energy, Emmanuel Wanesa, and a colleague in Meralco, Mr. Raymond Dravelo. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of MAP Executive Director Arnold Salvador. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, the ASIAP is a large international organization composed of 75 members from 19 countries. The association has been in existence for quite some time, and it fosters cooperation and exchange of expertise and technologies, emerging technologies that helps power sector players, whether you're in generation, distribution, or regulatory. We usually discuss among the members regional challenges and solutions. So for the ASIAP hosting, this happens every 2 years. It moves from one country to another. For the Philippine hosting, which was supposed to have been 2019 and 2020, unfortunately, we had to push back the 2020 event to 2021. The ASIAP Philippine Coalition is composed of the following two government agencies led by none other than Secretary Alcusi of the Department of Energy, and for the Department of Tourism, Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat. For the private sector, we have the following members. As president is the Meralco president, Ray Espinosa, and a very active member until his untimely passing on, NPC president, the late President Pio Benavides. And of course, we have Transco President Attorney Melvin Matibag, who is joining us this afternoon, and NGCP President Anthony Almeida. I'd like to mention that both Anthony and Melvin are with us this afternoon. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, the last hosting of ASIAP and the hosting of SEPSI, or the conference itself, was in Kuala Lumpur in 2018. The photo shows the turnover ceremony, and this event was, we had as guest speaker none other than the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Prime Minister Mahathir, as guest of honor. Next slide, please. For the hosting of ASIAP 2019 and 2021, we had our first event, which is the CEO conference, which was successfully attended by some 200 ministers and CEOs from the region and members of member countries of ASIAP in Mactan, Cebu, sometime in September 2019. Just to mention, from Malaysia, it moved to the Philippines. After the Philippines, it goes to China. And they will start their own hosting in 2022 and 2023, followed by Singapore 2 years after. So SEPSI 2021, we tagged it as the Energy Digicon of Asia Pacific. This is really the biggest biennial event, which is normally attended by 2,500 attendees with a platform that exchange ideas, latest emerging technologies for the industry players. Let's go to the next slide, please. So for the Philippine hosting, the members of the Philippine Coalition agreed to have a Philippine agenda to move forward what could be most beneficial to the Philippines, meaning what would be beneficial to electric co-ops, to electric utility local utility companies, GenCos, as well as players in the renewable energy and sustainability. So we're bringing vibrance and energy into the power industry, and that's the value of our hosting. We are able to bring forth our own agenda. So among the intentions is really to improve access and exposure to emerging technologies, global standards, and best practices. And this will hopefully bring in our local players into this latest emerging technology standards and best practices. So the intention also is to bring about the Filipino talent and even promote business opportunities and investments in the power sector. Next slide, please. So the conference theme is Energized Countries and Empowered Communities. We have 5 pillars, or the 5S that we call it. The first is sustainability. We want to encourage sustainability in the energy sector by focusing on renewable energies and alternative energy sources. Second, socially inclusive. We want to be able to bring everybody into the fold. No? Walang maiiwan. Zero unserved, zero underserved. And then the next S is smart. We want to be able to advance into more resilient power grids. Synergize, meaning we want collaboration, exchange of best practices, exchange of ideas, and of course, scalable. The development of innovative solutions that is scalable. Next slide, please. So for the SEPSI event will happen in November, and there will be 4 days, one event after each week. So the full month of November, we will have one event per week. On the first day, by the way, let me just acknowledge and thank our colleague Basti Quinones, who was able to help us arrange for one of the keynote speakers. I'll mention that in day 2. So the opening program, we will have Secretary Alcusi, we will have Attorney Reyes Espinosa, and the President and CEO of Tenaga, and the President of China Electric, who will be the next host after the Philippines. And keynote addresses will be coming from the Chair of the World Energy Council, President of ADB, and a major sponsor, and our good friend Ariel Ong, the President of First PHILEC. Next slide, please. On the second day, this is where I mentioned that with the help of our fellow MAP, Basti Quinones, we were able to get a confirmation that Mr. Gil Quinones, President and CEO of New York Power Authority, which is the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the power sector authorities, reforming the energy vision, market forces, and he will talk about sustainability as well. And then we will have a senior partner of Nokia Bell Labs. We will also have panel discussions as indicated here. Some are still waiting for confirmation, but more or less many of the panelists for this provisional or for this program on the second day have already confirmed, and they will talk about balanced energy solutions for energy security and sustainability. On day 3, next slide please, we will have several simultaneous events. We will have the C-suite roundtable discussions, and you will see the speakers there. We will bring in local power players, industry players. San Miguel will be there, AC Energy, Aboitiz, Global Power, Meralco, and First PHILEC. After this, we will go through an energy regulators cyber summit, and then we will have a lot of discussion on regulatory matters, advanced metering, smart distribution utility, and so on. And then after these 2 events, we will also have simultaneously a young engineers and a scientist cyber summit. We want to bring in players from the high school and tech schools of the country to be present, so that they will learn what the energy, how the whole energy and power sector is operated. And we will have Mr. Gil Quiñones to be their panel speaker. Next slide, please. And on day 4, by the way, on the first 3 days, in the afternoon, we will have the technical paper presentations. And I will discuss a little bit more about the technical paper presentations a little bit later. But on the 4th day, we will have as a presentation from the Philippine sector, since at this point we cannot really promote tourism, so we are promoting PESA instead, our Philippine economic zones as potential investment areas. And finally, we will have as a final speaker, the Executive Director and CEO of United Nations Global Compact, Ms. Sandra Kiambo. Then we will have the formal closing program and closing messages and turn over to China. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we are starting to call on technical paper presentations and presenters. We will have a wide range of topics covering microgrid and distributed energy resources, power generation as track 2, and energy storage, carbon capture technologies. And then track 3 would be covering the future of transmission grid and distribution network. And track 4, smart infrastructure for smart cities. And track 5, retail and customer empowerment and experience. So we are calling for paper presenters in any of these tracks, and the submission of the abstracts has started, and they will probably close maybe July 31, or probably some extension to just be able to accommodate the best paper presentations that a technical panel has been formed to precisely review all the abstracts that are presented, so that, as I mentioned, our colleagues in the power sector will learn more about specific tracks that I mentioned in the 5 areas. Next slide, please. So these are just some testimonials of paper presenters. As you can see, many of them are young and they are on specific research areas like the grid-scale battery energy storage, the one from Thailand, demand response program. Next slide, please. And we have one from the Meralco Power Academy, Energy Talent Development. This is on HR. And then a lady from Malaysia, Assessment of Viability of Battery Energy Storage. Next slide, please. So we are really calling for paper presenters. If you have your partners, suppliers, foreign or foreign partners in your businesses, please, we welcome them. You can go to our website or contact any of the members of the Secretariat of AESIAP, and we will most welcome and look at what they can present so that they are engaged in the AESIAP SEPSI 2021. So for the target delegates, we expect about 2,500, 1,000 from local participants, 1,500 from foreign. We expect a lot of delegates coming from China, since they will be the next host of AESIAP 2023 and 2022 and 2023. If not for this pandemic, they committed about 300 minimum to 500 delegates coming from China. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we cannot accommodate any of their visitors. So we will be having power industry players and leaders, mostly CEO of the companies and members of AESIAP, engineers, regulators, and technical professionals in the industry. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the registration opens on July 21st. And then the technical paper presentations and abstracts presentation will be accepted until July 31st. And then a technical team will go over the abstracts and call on those we feel that are responsive to the 5 tracks I mentioned earlier. And then we have, of course, customized sponsorship packages and speakership opportunities in the chat rooms. We have developed the capability to be able to have a lot of interaction among the speakers, among the presenters, as well as the participants. So it's not going to be a one-way dialogue between the presenter or the speakers. There will be a lot of open forum and discussions and a lot of opportunities to interact with suppliers, colleagues in the industry here and abroad. So allow me to end by showing you a video of the ASIAP event that we had.
A bright future continues to shine as the great minds in power and energy come together to the Philippines. Home to the world's emerging economies and dynamic cities, the East Asia and Western Pacific region is more than ready for game-changing innovations to develop countries of the future that are smart, scalable, and synergized, enabling sustainable and socially inclusive communities. As Asia converges, we welcome you once again to the Philippines. A vibrant nation known for its rich culture, the warm hospitality of its people who are passionate to reach out and connect, and with a ready smile to embrace all the peoples of the world. It is this energy that drives us to build our networks and power our infrastructures. We have been energizing the country. We have begun our journey on a smart grid that's scalable and from a balanced mix of resources, and empowering communities to create the greatest societal value and impact to its people. Your hosts from the Philippines is a coalition of companies and our government who are determined to make the conference productive and fun. We are looking forward to next year's collaboration, cooperation, and camaraderie.
As one who has seen so much of the world, I can say the cliche, there's no place like home, and truly mean it. Mother Nature has been generous to us, gifting us with sunshine most of our days, fresh winds from our seas, rich soil to grow lush foliage, with marine biodiversity and beaches second to none. Many of those gifts have likewise become invaluable sources of energy for our cities and communities. Is it any wonder then why our smiles come easy? Come, visit the Philippines, and be energized like us. After all, it's more fun in the Philippines.
As one Asia, we are bigger and bolder than ever. It's time to celebrate our shared vision of energizing countries and empowering communities. Welcome from all of us in the Philippines. Mabuhay!
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, I'd like to thank MAP, Energy Chairperson Ernie Pantanco, and of course the whole MAP for giving us this opportunity. As indicated, this is not a particular event sponsored by Meralco or any of these individual organizations. It's the hosting of the Philippines as a country. So we hope that we can get the full support of MAP and your colleagues, partners, suppliers to actually get engaged and be part of the Energy Digicon of Asia Pacific in November. Thank you very much, and I would like to move to the next part of the program.
Thank you so much, Secretary Singson. As Sec Babes explained, the theme of energized countries, empowered communities is anchored on 5 pillars, or what we call the 5S. Among these, we would like to highlight 2 advocacies of ASEAP Philippines, which are most relevant to our country at the moment. These are social inclusiveness and sustainability. Joining us are 2 speakers who will discuss each topic. Our first speaker is an undersecretary of the Department of Energy, where we've often heard the mandate providing power for all. That is best exemplified in the department's Social Inclusiveness Program. Sharing the details of this program with us is Department of Energy Undersecretary Emmanuel P. Juaneza.
Good afternoon, Secretary Rogelio Singson, Mr. Pantanco, President Melvin Matibag, and President Anthony Almeida of NGCP, to the distinguished members of the Management Association of the Philippines, to the SEPSI 2021 Secretariat, the CEOs, the COOs, and other top management practitioners from the local and multinational companies that operate in the country. Colleagues in the power sector, fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who have made this possible for us to meet through this virtual platform with our busy schedules as we address our respective challenges in the workplace during this pandemic. On behalf of Secretary Alfonso G. Cusi, the Department of Energy, in preparation for the Philippines hosting of the Conference on Electric Power Supply Industry, or SEPSI 2021, please allow me to briefly provide an overview on the projects of the Department of Energy and our program partners have endeavored to pursue, which have the greatest value and impact to communities for social exclusiveness, sustainable energy, adaptation of advanced and resilient power grid systems, greater collaboration among the different industry stakeholders, and scaling up the deployment of innovative solutions for today and the future. As everyone is aware, energy is the engine for human and economic growth. Lack of access to reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy services contributes to a self-perpetuating cycle of poverty and problems in education, health, hygiene, gender inequity, and environmental degradation, among others. We believe in the causality nexus of rural electrification and social economic growth of the marginalized sectors living in remote and far-flung areas. As a matter of fact, the Department of Energy, in collaboration with its attached agencies such as National Electrification Administration, or NEA, National Power Corporation, SPAG, and the PNOC, among others, launched a massive and focused action to increase and accelerate access to electricity services for the country's electrified communities. As a policy, total electrification is a worthwhile endeavor in view of its economic benefits in the rural and depressed areas. Again, the local development of a certain community and its level of access to electricity are directly correlated. The sad reality is that zero to little access of electricity to a certain sitio or barangay will highly result to an underdeveloped community. To achieve the target of total electrification in the country, the Department of Energy developed and instituted a framework of sustainable total electrification program by implementing a number of projects that identified alternative electricity solutions for those situated within the conflict-affected areas, developed innovative electrification approaches with market opportunities for the productive uses of renewable energy, and facilitated partnerships and commitments with other government and foreign agencies aiming to improve the quality of energy access and the quality of life for all Filipinos. Off-grid electrification program was also instituted comprising the photovoltaic mainstreaming projects, qualified third-party program, household electrification program using renewable energy, and the missionary electrification program. Under the same objective of providing energy access to missionary areas, we have also supported foreign-assisted projects such as the Rural Power Project funded by the World Bank, Global Environment Facility Alliance for Mindanao Off-Grid Rural Electrification Project supported by the USAID and the Winrock International, and the Philippine Rural Electrification Service Project through the French-Filipino Loan Protocol. Moreover, with our partners from the European Union Access to Sustainable Energy Program, around 45,000, or rather 40,500 solar home systems are now being installed and utilized, powering remote communities throughout Mindanao. For us in the energy sector, security and sustainability are of equal importance. As we take on the process of reshaping our energy future, we should be guided in securing supply by expanding access to all forms of energy, improving energy efficiency, and promoting clean energy resources. As leaders in the government and in the different industries, we must present a united front to strengthen and integrate efforts through proactive policies and reforms, aiming to increase energy projects and investments that will provide radical solutions in taking these crucial steps towards a more sustainable and vibrant Philippines. Now that I have briefly discussed what to expect from the Department of Energy on this webinar, please direct your attention to Engineer Mark Louis L. Olap, Officer in charge of the Rural Electrification Administration and Management Division of the Electric Power Industry Management Bureau under the Department of Energy. Engineer Mark will provide an in-depth discussion on the promising programs and projects of the department is currently spearheading. Thank you once again, and more power to all of us, literally and figuratively. Mabuhay. Mark? Mark?
Thank you, Yusek. Thank you, Yusek Manny, and to our MAP attendees, good afternoon. Am I cleared? Okay, so For our full appreciation, allow me to present these successful and ongoing programs and projects, particularly with reference to the social inclusiveness through expanding energy access for the country's total electrification. As mentioned earlier by Yusek Wanesa, currently almost 1.3 million Filipinos have no access to electricity. The DOE, in order to achieve the total electrification of the country, issued the Department Order number DO 2018-050010, a policy that created the Task Force E-Power Mo or TFEM, whose main task is overseeing the government's total electrification program and ensuring access to electricity for communities that remain unserved and underserved by the distribution utilities, including electric cooperatives, private investor-owned utilities, local government unit-owned utilities, as mandated by the respective franchise. It is also tasked to develop the National Unified Strategy for Total Electrification Program or TEP based on the consolidated and reviewed comprehensive electrification master plans of the individual DUs. Said plans likewise pushes for increased private sector participations specifically on areas where the DUs cannot perform their responsibilities. Thus, the TFEM have identified electrification strategies, as illustrated in this slide, and subdivided it into household electrification, which includes the NAIHE electrification program, the grid electrification, like the line extension program of the National Electrification Administration, the Sitio electrification program, and barangay line enhancement program. And lastly, the off-grid electrification, like the PV mainstreaming program as mentioned earlier, as well as the qualified third party and the microgrid and mini-grid electrification solution implemented by our National Power Corporation. To support the total electrification of the country, the DOE launched in its locally funded project Nationwide Intensification of Household Electrification or NIHE in 2015 and the Photovoltaic Mainstreaming Program or PVM in 2017. To date, the DOE has energized around 61.8% of its target or total of 209,939 households. As one of the strategies of the DOE to achieve the 100% total electrification by 2022, the NAHE program aims to provide electricity service to all unserved households situated in areas where the distribution facilities of the DUs are physically and technically available. This provision of service connection is a grant subsidy amounting to 3,750 per household, which includes house wiring materials and land and labor, service drop, and kilowatt-hour meter. The beneficiaries of these programs are those households that are indigent included on the marginalized group. Examples are those members of the IPs and the 4Ps beneficiaries. NAHE also supports and contributes to the DU system loss and reduction by legitimizing and eliminating the illegal users of electricity. Meanwhile, the Photovoltaic Mainstreaming Program, or PVM, is a programmatic, sustainable, and utility-based approach in electricity provision to unenergized and marginalized households in highly remote, off-grid, and dispersed locations. The solar home system are offered as a utility service by our country's electric cooperative, with the household beneficiaries having similar rights and obligation as other customers receiving grid service in the DU's franchise area. About 51,000 unenergized households will benefit from this PVM program funded by the national government budget and grant proceeds from the European Union through the ASEP or Access to Sustainable Energy Program. As we all know, the water, energy, food nexus is crucial in sustainable development. Hence, the DOE under the EU-supported ASEP conceived the productive use of energy, renewable energy or pure to integrate with the solar electrification under the PVM as discussed earlier. This pure cum PVM helps bring about improved economic and social conditions to families in marginalized and disadvantaged communities in Mindanao and in Luzon through the use of energy solutions for their livelihood activities and household energization. Specifically, The program aims to increase the productions of income of farmers and employment of generation potential through the introduction or productive use of a renewable energy or pure in the agri-fishery value chain, as well as increase the availability of electricity service in Mindanao provinces through the provision of solar home system, and demonstrate that it is a viable least cost electrification option for off-grid and widely spread households. As you can see on the slide, this is an EU ASA funded project, additional funding from the EU that provides implementations of solar home system as well as deployment of pure projects in the Mindanao. Another project is the Palamigan ng Bayan project with the DOE, DA, and DOTR. Launched on 11 October of 2018, the Palamigan ng Bayan is initiated by the Department of Transportation in coordination with the Philippine Ports Authority, wherein refrigerated containers or reefers are donated to communities with limited capability in transporting and storing their perishable goods and agricultural products. Wheeling Maritime Companies donated their unused reefers to DOTR for this purpose. The primary target beneficiaries of the programs are local farmers and fisher folks that thrives on their vegetable, fruits, and fish or meat produce. By donating cold storage facilities to store the perishable goods, the DOTR aims to assist in preserving their catch and maintain their quality prior to distribution and delivery to local markets and other areas, thereby increasing the projected income from agricultural products. Initially, the initially donated were 18, which consists of 12 20-footer river bands and 6 40-footer river bands in Luzon and Visayas. In order to have an efficient and sustainable management of the Palamigan ng Bayan project, the DOTR, DA, or Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Energy signed a tripartite memorandum of agreement on March 12, 2021, and the partnership aims to further strengthen the implementation of the project amid the rising prices of the agricultural commodities in the country. A joint memorandum circular is also to be issued to prescribe the implementing guidelines to ensure efficiency, sustainable, and appropriate utilization of the Palamigan ng Bayan reefer container bans. It is estimated that there are around 80 million indigenous people in the country, considered to be one of the marginalized sectors of the society despite their critical role as stewards of our energy resources, specifically in areas where the hydro and geothermal power plants and or energy resource development projects are located. With this, the DOE recognized the rights of our tribal and indigenous communities in their ancestral domain, hence has broadened the policy frameworks for equitable, sustainable, and inclusive sharing of financial benefits under the Energy Regulation 1-94 or ER 1-94 program through the Department Circular number DC 2018-03005 by expanding the operational definition of host communities to include the said indigenous peoples as host beneficiaries of the said ER 1-94 program. This policy supports the DO's mandate to devise ways and means of giving direct benefits to the people, communities hosting the energy generating facilities and or energy resources project. Establish DOE's commitment to boost the inclusion and cooperation of the IPs and ICCs in the power development projects, and at the same time help the IPs and ICCs reap the financial benefits of hosting an energy project. So to further concretize this above mentioned circular, the DOE has issued a complementing policy, the Department Circular number DC 2019-060010, that prescribes the administrative operating guidelines for the availment and utilization of financial benefits by the indigenous cultural communities or ICCs and indigenous people or IPs pursuant to the above mentioned department circular. This is to allow the direct remittance of the financial benefits of this to the IPs and ICCs that host generation facilities energy resources project. Through this enhanced arrangement, the host IPs and ICCs beneficiaries can immediately avail and utilize the financial benefits to augment or support their identified development projects within their ancestral domain, help combat the spread of COVID-19 pandemic within their IP communities, and at the same time, help address the DOE's pursuit of energy self-sufficient power development and total electrification without sacrificing the country's ecological and cultural concern. Currently, the DOE is just awaiting the NCIP's or the National NCIP Central Office submission of the final validated and endorsed bona fide host IPs and ICCs for the inclusion and enlistment of the same to the said program. Lastly, with regards to the gender development, apart from the contribution of the total electrification projects in satisfying the basic energy needs, it can also act as an instrument to empower women as access to modern energy services. It has a significant impact on women's lives by reducing their time spent on household tasks, improving their health, and increasing access to information, service such as TV, radio, and other possibly including the internet. Hence, the modern energy services can help assist in unleashing a process of women's empowerment, bringing positive change into gender relation. And in closing, I just mentioned the DOE's Energy Service Delivery Program, which has potential for poverty reduction, economic and human development, as well as promotes inclusive growth. The DOE cannot do this alone. So I join the energy stakeholders and program partners in bringing reliable and accessible power service to our consumers and provide electricity service to the unserved household as well as support productive uses so that we can empower poor Filipinos to contribute to the country's economic growth and provide opportunities to uplift their lives. And with this, thank you and more power to all of us.
Thank you so much to Yusek Waneza and especially to Mr. Mark Olap for discussing the elements of DOE's Total Electrification Program, which will certainly boost economic development and inclusive growth in all areas of the country. Just a reminder, for those of you who would like to ask questions from Yusek and from Mark, please use the chat box. The DOE's plans for the whole country's electrification is similar to what Meralco wants to do in its own franchise area, but it will do it in a very sustainable way. Now, to share with us how Meralco sustainability program looks is Raymond B. Ravelo, the Chief Sustainability Officer of the Manila Electric Company.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Vivian, and thank you to the Management Association of the Philippines and to ASIAP for inviting me to be part of this very important virtual forum. Good afternoon to NGCP President Anthony Almeida, Transco President Attorney Melvin Matipag, MAP Committee on Energy Chair Ernie Pantanco, my co-speakers, Secretary Babe Singson, and Undersecretary Emmanuel Waneza, to our esteemed leaders and members of the MAP, and to everyone participating and tuned in into this webinar. Again, good afternoon to all of you. Today, I will be sharing with you Meralco's sustainability agenda, as Vivian mentioned, and this agenda is aptly captured by the phrase "powering the good life." And I hope to share with you how we in Meralco have embedded sustainability in the very fabric of our strategy and operations as a company. To begin, let me start by putting into context the world that we live in today. In many respects, I think we all agree that the world we live in is rather unwell. The Philippines is losing about 47,000 hectares of forest cover each year. Nearly 5 million Filipinos rely on unsafe and unclean water sources. Globally, our country continues to rank third in air pollution-related deaths, and 1 out of every 6 Filipinos is poor, subsisting on only 70 pesos a day. Now, it is against this rather bleak backdrop that we in Meralco say, business as usual is no longer an option. And so in 2019, right around 2 years ago, in fact, when our president and CEO, Attorney Racey Espinosa, took the helm of Meralco, one of his first major thrusts was to place sustainability front and center for us. No? Following his lead, we crafted our very own sustainability agenda, which is very much rooted in the global cause or the global goals, what we commonly know as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the UN SDGs. Now, as we look at this roster of development goals, and as you can imagine, our focus in Meralco has been and continues to be on UN SDG 7. And this is the drive to deliver affordable and clean energy. Now, in as much as UN SDG 7 is central to us, we actually are able to promote and support as many as 10 other SDGs through our other businesses and initiatives. And in a way, this is reflective of our comprehensive thinking on sustainability. And this, I think will be very apparent as I go through my presentation. While environmental stewardship is a large part of our sustainability program, it really is one of a number of factors which we have decided to focus on. So as a result, our Powering the Good Life sustainability agenda is marked by a distinctive focus on 4 pillars, or what we call the 4 Ps. So allow me to define these Ps for you. First, there is power, of course, and this is what makes Meralco sustainability agenda distinctly our own. So given our aspiration to provide energy for all, always, we exert supreme effort to provide affordable, accessible, reliable, and clean energy to all we serve. Next, we have planet. And again, here we capture obviously our initiatives to help protect and preserve, essentially our one and only home. And this is by lowering our greenhouse gas emissions and minimizing our waste. Third, people. We truly believe that sustainability starts from within. It's about nurturing sustainability deep within our organization, while ensuring that that we are able to nurture them and nurture their well-being in a very safe and inclusive workplace. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, underpinning all of these 3 initial Ps is the thrust for prosperity, or the drive to help create, ultimately better lives for all, ensuring that we leave no one behind. Now, please allow me to share with you some examples of how we in Meralco have made purposeful strides across each of these 4 Ps in the last 2 years. First, power. We continue our drive towards the goal to achieve 100% energization of our franchise area through what we call our MEP, or our Meralco Electrification Program. In 2020, we brought power to 99.94% of households in our service area, with a special focus on bringing light to unserved and underserved communities. In this vein, we energized 2 far-flung communities, particularly those in Isla Verde, Batangas, and in Cagbalete Island, Quezon Province, through what we call innovative microgrid solutions, which combine solar panels and battery storage systems. In 2020, we further expanded our Cagbalete Island microgrid by constructing an additional 1.4 megawatts of solar and battery storage systems. And this is enough to power the entire island of over 600 households and 11 resorts before the end of 2021. In addition, we are starting to gain momentum in our shift towards cleaner and greener energy. In the next 5 years, we look to greenify our supply portfolio by securing 1,500 megawatts of clean energy contracts. In addition, as Secretary Babes knows very well, through our company, M-Green, we will build 1,500 megawatts also in renewable energy projects through 2027. In fact, our maiden project, a 50 megawatt solar farm in San Miguel, Bulacan, went online last May 12th. Next, let's move on to planet. For the first time in 2020, we in Meralco included greenhouse gas, or GHG emissions, as a corporate performance metric that is measured, monitored, and reported at the very top. So we measure, monitor, and report our overall GHG emissions across what we call our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, as well as our emissions intensity. which normalizes intensity through the volumes that we deliver in terms of energy. In addition to emissions, we also track our waste diversion rate. And this rate corresponds to the amount of waste we generate that we are able to repurpose and ultimately divert away from landfills. So overall, our sustainability metrics, including those around the other P's, power, people, and prosperity, all these comprise a quarter of our corporate KPIs in 2020. In support of this, we put in place a number of initiatives to spur, as I mentioned earlier, our decarbonization efforts. And among these initiatives is one that is very near and dear my heart, which is, again, vehicle electrification. In 2020, we launched what we call our Green Mobility Program, and this is aimed at electrifying Meralco's vehicle fleet. To date, we have deployed close to 60 electric motorcycles, and this is for the use of our field representatives who previously did their rounds using either their personal motorcycles or for hire jeeps or tricycles. Today, we are in the process of deploying close to 70 additional EVs consisting of electric cars, vans, pickups, and even additional e-motorcycles to be rolled out across our business centers and sector offices. Beginning this year, 2021, 100% of our Metro Manila business center fleets will be fully electrified. And to support their charging needs, we are also installing 5 station chargers in strategically located Meralco facilities across our area. Beyond Meralco, we also provide green transport options for the riding public. In 2019, our company Isakay, which is again our electric vehicle and charging solutions company, launched the breakthrough Makati-Mandaluyong electric jeep operations, deploying 15 zero-emission public utility vehicles serving commuters in the 2 cities. Thereafter, Isakay deployed 2 e-vans transporting students and faculty members at De La Salle Araneta University in Malabon, and most recently 5 electric jeeps in Marikina applying the city's heritage route. Now, still under Planet is what we call our Resource Conservation and Efficiency Program. And this was launched to reduce our own use electricity consumption. Sometimes people ask me, totoo ba yan, but yes, we in Meralco are very, very conscious about our own use electricity consumption. And so apart from energy efficiency measures such as replacing our lighting fixtures with LED alternatives, we are also expanding the footprint of solar panels in our own facilities. In fact, this year we are planning to solarize our main building, the Lopez building in the Meralco operating center. In fact, the installed panels on our Lopez building will power part of the energy requirements of our 14th floor, which we will in turn transform into a sustainable, renewable energy powered facility called the Green 14th. The Green 14th will have as a centerpiece the conversion of the floor's largest conference room into a collaboration area. And this area will feature upcycled furniture and fixtures, motion sensors for the lights, and other eco-friendly materials. Moreover, we pushed our Planet agenda with what we call our Race to Zero Waste program, where we more than tripled the amount of waste. I mentioned this earlier that we are very focused on waste diversion. In 2020, we were able to triple that diversion rate to 55% from a baseline of only 17% in 2019. So more than triple the amount. In addition, we've put in place some key initiatives under this program, such as our continued company-wide ban on single-use plastics, and most recently our #HealthWithoutHarm, which is an initiative to facilitate the safe and responsible management of our COVID-19 waste. Moreover, a very important initiative is our transition, and this is very important to us, our transition to natural ester oil for our distribution transformers, some of our primary assets in the distribution networks. So these DTs going forward will use natural ester oil, and this will be for 100% of our new pad-mounted and pole-mounted DTs, making these assets virtually 99% recyclable and biodegradable. Finally, another key program under Planet is One for Trees, which is aimed at restoring biodiversity through reforestation. Since 2019, One Meralco Foundation, in partnership with Green Earth Heritage Foundation, has planted close to 30,000 trees, and more than 6,000 of those were planted in 2020, notwithstanding the constraints of the pandemic. Next, let's move on to people. In March 2020, Meralco became a pioneer signatory to the United Nations Women Empowerment Principles. We are today one of only 30 signatories thus far in the country, and in fact, the first in the Philippine energy sector. Also, we are forging ahead with building a more, shall we say, gender enlightened and inclusive Meralco with the recent launch of our diversity and inclusion program called #M for Meralco, Embrace. So very inclusive view on our workplace and on the women and men who take care of Meralco. In addition, in response to the challenges of the pandemic, 2020 saw us introduce our Code Light bot. And this chatbot helps us monitor our employees' health and wellness status, as well as their daily work arrangements and locations. Most recently, we added a new feature where employees are able to monitor and check indoor and outdoor air quality in the Meralco compound through this bot. So we are able to measure stats in terms of temperature, humidity, carbon content, nitrogen content, and other particulates. Finally, prosperity. And our aim is really to empower our more than 7 million customers through digitally enabled customer care and service initiatives. An example is the virtual customer assistant launched last year, which allows our customers in business centers to be assisted via video conferencing. As such, we are able to attend to more customers, leading to shorter waiting times and significantly reduced exposure to the coronavirus. We also work to influence our constituents. We realize that we in Meralco are in a good place to influence and hopefully inspire a number of our stakeholders to also become more sustainable. So again, we influence our constituents to be more sustainable, beginning with our supply chain partners. In 2020, we also set in motion the Meralco Supplier Sustainability Scorecard, or MSQ, through which our vendors are now assessed on key sustainability criteria and disclosures as part of their continuing accreditation with Meralco. Finally, guided by our core value of bayanihan, we help provide energy even beyond our borders, particularly in times of great need and in times of natural calamities. After Super Typhoon Rolly and Typhoon Ulysses hit Bicol and left the whole region in total blackout last October, we deployed more than 200 engineers, linemen, support personnel to help restore damaged facilities at the soonest possible time. In light of all of these efforts across each of the 4 Ps, we are quite happy, and we are very honored that a number of our sustainability-related initiatives have been recognized externally. In particular, we are very proud that our maiden 2019 sustainability report, the first time we ever wrote an SR, and it was entitled Sustaining the Future, that won a Bronze Stevie in the International Business Awards and a gold rank in the Asia Sustainability Reporting Rating. Most recently, this SR was also recognized with a gold Stevie by the Asia Pacific Stevie Awards under the annual reports category. Likewise, we received recognition for our other programs, including our media relations for our solar microgrid projects, our 1 for Trees program, which is positioned not just as a reforestation program, but an employee volunteerism opportunity. Isakai's deployment of e-jeeps to ferry frontliners during ECQ. And finally, our community efforts, such as what we call Kaisa sa Kabuhayan, through which the Aplaya Sardines enterprise was created. And this allows fisher folk in Atimonan, Quezon, and provides them with an alternative source of income. So at the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that we in Meralco have begun on a sustainability journey. And at this point, I think it would be good to highlight or to put into context, just how far along we have, come on this very, very important undertaking as a company. In 2019, as I said earlier, we firmly established sustainability as a CEO priority and as a major pillar of our company. We thus created a dedicated sustainability office and immediately started with a bang, with the launch of important projects such as the SUP ban, or the single-use plastic ban. In 2020, we built on that momentum, further embedding sustainability through our activities as we engaged our whole organization by designing, ideating, and implementing programs across each of the 4 Ps. 2020 also marked a year where we identified metrics, sustainability metrics, and determined baselines and targets for each of them. This 2021 and beyond, our aim is to bring ourselves to an even higher level, as we say, to elevate and evolve our sustainability ambitions and initiatives. Thus, we have embarked on a very important effort of crafting Meralco's long-term sustainability strategy. Together with our senior leadership team, different line organizations, and our subsidiaries, we have defined our long-term targets aligned with global goals. We have also developed the sustainability initiatives, investments, and implementation plans that will, hopefully enable us to achieve these objectives. And ultimately, we really look to deliver impact over a multi-year horizon through 2030 and beyond. Now, before I end, I would like to share with you some of our, very valuable insights and learnings from this very important journey for us in Meralco. So first, we understand that, and we truly believe that sustainability goes well beyond environmentalism. That's why we have a very comprehensive view of sustainability. That's why our sustainability agenda is not just about the planet. If we look closely at the 17 UN SDGs, they are very, very diverse goals. But the one tie that binds all of them is the drive for better lives. For sure, protecting and preserving our planet is a huge part of ensuring a life for ourselves and for our future generations. But there are certainly other imperatives such as human rights, equal access to basic services, and social justice that really foster prosperity. And so sustainability for us goes well beyond going green. Second, on top of Meralco's 4 Ps, there is a 5th P, partnership. It is clear that sustainability is a team effort. And we are all, interestingly enough, on the same side. If we win, then we all succeed and we all live. If we lose, well, we all perish together. So, in fact, true sustainable progress undoubtedly requires a shared vision and, more importantly, collective, earnest action. And finally, sabi nga nila, 2020, hindsight is 2020. And as we look back at 2020 in particular, in light of our shared COVID-19 experience as a nation, as a global community, we realize that sustainable development, does seem to be the best, if not the only way forward. The pandemic has shed light on many environmental, social, and economic issues that have, in a way, remained unaddressed for a long time, or maybe swept under the rug for quite some time now. And so now we have a great chance, as a global community, as a nation, to press the reset button, and as some would say, to build back better. So more and more, this spirit of sustainability, I truly believe, we truly believe in Meralco, should be with us whether we are in a pandemic situation or not. To end, indeed, we'd like to think that we have achieved quite a bit in the last 2 years, but in many respects, we also truly understand and believe that there is still so much that we can and will do. And going forward, we will do more to bring sustainable, enduring, and meaningful progress, to uplift our customers, our communities, and the country, and to enable many, many more Filipinos to, power better lives, not only for themselves today, but more importantly, for their children tomorrow. So with that, thank you very, very much, and good afternoon to all of you.
Thank you very much, Raymond, for sharing with us the 4 Ps plus 1 sustainability agenda of Meralco. So let's see, there's people, prosperity, planet, and power. Plus 1, partnership, maybe the most important of all. So thank you once again.
Vivian.
So I would like to welcome back our speakers because it's now time for our question and answer forum. Okay. For anybody in the audience who would like to ask any question, just please unmute your microphone and ask away. Okay. Are there any takers? Maybe to get things started, I can read some of the questions that our team has collected. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll ask the first question to Mark, no, for DOE. One of the objectives of the national government is 100% total household electrification by 2022, right, Mark? And based on the report, Luzon is at 98%, Visayas at 95%, and Mindanao at 83%. With these numbers, can we still meet the target of 100% by next year? And what are the challenges faced by the DOE for this goal of total electrification?
Thank you, Vivian, for that questions. Actually, it's a very bit challenging question to answer if we can achieve the total electrification of the country given the current pandemic situation that we are facing right now. Having said, that's the main reason why that's the main reason that or that's the main challenge that we are facing, given that our challenge in achieving the total electrification aside from the funding sources we're in. If you would recall the call for the budget, the version of the budget of the government to address the COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Energy have rationalized some of its program just to address and assist in addressing the challenges by the host communities in the uh, host communities or energized households or energized communities in the country. We one of the budget that we are looking for the electrification program is the year 1-94, a dedicated program wherein a dedicated fund wherein the electrification fund should have been used for the electrification project. But given the challenge of the COVID-19, we have rationalized it and allow it to be used for the mitigation projects of the LGUs. Thus, with this, we see a bit of a challenge in the funding sources, and also the limited movement of our players, specifically our electric cooperatives, who have raised their concerns specifically on implementing the locally funded projects by the Department of Energy and also by the National Electrification Administration. So we are hopeful. We are hopeful that we can achieve together with our private companies, distribution utilities, in achieving the total electrification by next year based on the 2015 census.
Okay. So partnership is still very critical there,
Yes.
right? And the Department of Energy needs all our prayers for them to meet the 100% target by next year. Okay. So, okay, there's a question for Raymond. Yeah. Okay. What energy efficiency practices have you employed in your own buildings in your Meralco compound?
Thanks, Vivian. I believe again I mentioned a few of these things earlier in my talk, but I guess to recap, we've taken a lot of steps to convert our lighting in our buildings to LED. We have an ongoing replacement of our air conditioning units to inverter type air cons, and also our air handling units. This will be completed in the next couple of years. We have also replaced our chillers for our centralized cooling system in Lopez Building and other key buildings in the compound with more energy efficient modular type ACUs. I mentioned earlier we solarize now our facilities, and we have started to also taken a look at standardizing the structural designs of our new buildings with the provision for solar rooftop panels, particularly for our new business centers. No, we also optimize the use of building management systems. And beyond energy efficiency, we also look at resource efficiency in general. So we're looking at water efficiency. So the automation of our water supply system in the main buildings, and we're also currently exploring anti-heat islanding projects such as green parking, green walls, and roof gardens to help reduce the heat load in the interior of our buildings. So these are just a few of the things that we've done.
Yeah. So I think later in the year or maybe early next year, we can hear a very interesting report on the actual savings, right? On initiative. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you.
For Sec Babes, there's a question on SEPSI, sir. Okay. Is there an opportunity to network with the attendees or the participants in the conference? How will this happen in a virtual setup?
Yes. For the SEPSI has been set up in such a way that the service provider that we engage, we require them to make sure that there will be a networking lounge, so that people could do match making, and there will also be private rooms for discussions, live chat facilities, and live Q&A facilities as well. So definitely the platform, the digital platform that we have engaged as a service provider will make this available for interaction among participants and presenters, as well as the paper presenters and guest speakers, panelists.
Mhm. Yes. Thank you, sir. And as a participant of previous sepsis, I can see that the same interaction opportunities are also available, albeit in a different platform. But there may be even more opportunities to network now in virtual, I
Yes,
think.
I think it is very possible, because there will be more international presenters, and there will be a lot of opportunity for interaction with participants.
Yes. Sir, another question for Sepsi, and I'm not surprised at this question. For MAP members, can we register under MAP to avail of the 10+1 group rate instead of registering per company?
Of course, I have no problem with that one. We really want to encourage the support of all the energy players. So yes, we will make available the discount for MAP members.
Okay. So thank you, sir. So, okay. At this point, there doesn't seem to be any more questions in the chat box. And I guess that's also due to the very comprehensive talks shared by our speakers this afternoon. So once again, thank you so much to Mark, and also to Yusek Wanesa. Thank you, Raymond. Thank you, Sec Babes. So this ends our webinar.
Thank you, Vivian.
Afternoon. And to close the session, I'd like to turn over the floor once again to Secretary Babe Singson.
Thank you so much. And again, I'd like to thank, on behalf of the Philippine Coalition, with Chairman Al Cusi, members Attorney Ray Espinosa, National Power Corporation, right now represented by Nanette Bognosen, and Transco President Melvin Matibag, and NGCP President Anthony Almeida, and of course Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat. Would like to invite and hopefully get MAP members, their suppliers, their colleagues, their partners who would like to get involved in the power sector and already engage in the power sector. We would ask for your support and cooperation by participating in the forthcoming SEPSI 2021, which is really a major event in the power sector industry in this region. Again, thank you so much to MAP. Thank you to Chair Ernie Pantanco for allowing us to co-chair, to co-sponsor this event. Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you, Sec Babes. Thank you to MAP. Thank you for the MAP members who joined us this afternoon. And to borrow from Yusek Wanesa, more power to all of you, literally and figuratively. Let's all stay safe. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.